How Michigan kids learn to read could be about to change. Good evening. I'm Ann Emmerich. David is off tonight. A State House committee met this morning to debate a package of bills that would overhaul reading instruction across the state. News 10's Braden Willis is here with what's in those bills and what Michigan teachers are saying about it. Braden?
And the bills would require teachers to use evidence-based science of reading methods in Michigan classrooms. Originally, teachers would have had until the start of the school year in 2027 to get trained on those new methods. But today, some committee members pushed to move that deadline to July 1st of this year, giving schools just 6 weeks to adjust. Last year, the nonprofit Education Trust Midwest ranked Michigan 44th in the nation in 4th grade reading levels. That's why State House Representative Jamie Green says new training for teachers to help kids read should take place as soon as possible.
There is no reason that we cannot move the training up to July 1st, 2026.
On Wednesday, the State House Committee on Education and Workforce debated the timeline for new training designed to improve student literacy. The original deadline to train Michigan teachers was late summer of 2027, but some lawmakers want that training done by July of this year. Thomas Morgan, a spokesperson for the Michigan Education Association, says the legislation is a step in the right direction, but it will take time.
What this legislation does today is simply moves up a timeline and deadlines to literally 6 weeks from today, which is unworkable. It's not a serious proposal, and our kids deserve us to take this seriously.
Dr. Carrie Krantz worked in education for 40 years. In addition to the accelerated timeline, she says she's frustrated with the teaching methods mandated in the bills.
And what I'm seeing is teachers loathing the materials. They are not aligned with what the impact it is having on the learning of their students, and they're not as effective as they once were. These teachers are offended. They're not feeling respected.
The bills were introduced last month by 6 House Republicans, and they're still being fine-tuned as lawmakers continue to hear from teachers and other stakeholders. Ann?
Braden, thank you. Aside from the teacher training, the other bills in the package would not take effect until the start of the school year in fall of next year. And tonight, a troubling picture of how students across the country are doing in the classroom. New research from Stanford University shows test scores have fallen in most of the country over the past decade. Reading scores are down in more than 80% of school districts. Math scores dropped 70%. Researchers analyzed data through 2025 and say several factors are to blame, including more students missing school, the rise of smartphones and social media, and a growing mental health crisis among kids.